Welcome to ReParenting Radio. I'm Lisa Watson, a transformational coach, author, and cycle breaker, just like you. This podcast is a sacred space for truth-telling, remembrance, and radical healing. Each week, I share stories, spiritual teachings, and nervous system wisdom to help dismantle disempowering beliefs, break generational cycles, and reclaim our sovereignty. So together, we can build a new world rooted in love and freedom for the generations to come. If you're ready to remember who you are beneath the programming, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back to ReParenting Radio. Welcome. Today, I want to talk about something that I believe most of us wrestle with, especially this time of year: boundaries, or as my bestie likes to call them, guardrails. Before we dive in, I do want to say this clearly, though. Learning to set boundaries, or guardrails, whichever you prefer, is one of the deepest ways that we can reparent ourselves. Because every boundary is really just the adult you stepping in to speak for the inner child who once had no voice. And for me, one of the hardest and most transformative places that I learned to set guardrails or boundaries was around the holidays. The holidays, for me, were tied to some of the earliest moments where my inner child learned to disregard her true feelings and perform. And I'm guessing that that may be true for most of us. My story may be a little unusual, but I'm going to share it. And I don't even cry anymore when I tell this story, so that's pretty exciting to me. So here's the story. I grew up in a large family. I am the youngest of 8. I have a different father than my 7 other siblings. They all share the same father. I was the last one, and I was the odd one out. And until I was about 6 years old, I wasn't even included in their Christmas Eve gathering at their Nana's house. My mother, bless her, after 6 years, finally said, "Can you please invite Lisa too? This is crazy." Since Mom and I were just home spending it alone while everyone else was out, enjoying and getting gifts and all that. But by then, the Christmas wound was already forming. And when I was finally invited, I wasn't treated like my other siblings were. I was treated like a guest, a welcome special guest, but not one of them. I didn't get the same number of presents. And one year, I remember my sisters, and probably my brother too, 6 sisters and 1 brother, they all got watches, and I just got a blanket. They got a blanket too, but I just got a blanket, and I really wanted a watch. And as a child, you don't have the cognitive development to understand the complexity of adult relationships or blended families. You only have your nervous system. And mine learned that connection is conditional and belonging is not guaranteed. And that if I want to stay close, I need to be easy, agreeable, and nice so that I'll continue to be included. So naturally, I grew into an adult woman who continued to celebrate Christmas, even though something in my body braced for it every year. I did all the Christmas things for my kids. I decorated, I bought presents, I went to parties. And my ex-husband, he went above and beyond every year trying to make it special. He bought me piles and piles of gifts, and it didn't help. He thought that the gifts would heal something, but it was never about the gifts. It was about the little girl inside of me who didn't feel equal, who didn't feel chosen, who didn't feel worthy. And no number of gifts could change what my inner child believed Christmas meant. So when I finally looked back at my childhood Christmases with adult eyes, everything clicked. Of course, December felt heavy. Of course, there was bracing. And of course, some part of me wanted to disappear rather than participate. My body wasn't reacting to Christmas. It was reacting to the old version of Christmas, the one where I was the outsider invited out of obligation. But then in 2019, something shifted. I made a decision. I'm not celebrating Christmas anymore in the traditional way. Not as a rebellion, not as avoidance, but as self-respect. and inner child healing. I told my husband, my new husband, we got married in 2017, so just a couple years before this, and I told my kids that I was opting out. I told them that I loved them and it had nothing to do with them, but my nervous system just couldn't keep performing the same script anymore. I wasn't going to buy presents. I wasn't going to exchange gifts. I wasn't going to pretend. My kids, they didn't live in the same state as me anymore, so it wasn't that big of a deal for them, I think, but my in-laws, they did, and they love Christmas, and so does my husband, and they still do. So I told them, I'm going to show up for dinner, but I'm not doing gifts, no pressure, no pretending, and you don't need to buy me anything, and please don't. Brian, my husband, he didn't flinch. He is so supportive, and he understood, and he even helped his parents see that it wasn't rejection. It was me choosing not to reenact decades of pain. So he went over to his parents in the morning and they opened presents, and then I just came later for dinner, and everything was great. We had dinner, we played cards, and I didn't feel stressed. So for the first time in my life, Christmas didn't hurt. Not because really anything changed externally, but because I finally stopped abandoning myself internally and I took control. I made a different choice for myself. In the simplest way possible, not celebrating was me saying, this tradition hurts me and I'm not pretending that it doesn't. Because a boundary isn't about controlling other people. It's about choosing what you will and won't participate in because it honors your emotional safety. I didn't cancel love, I didn't reject my family, and I didn't ruin anyone's holiday. I simply stopped performing. I stopped doing what hurt. I started doing what felt honest. I honored my inner child, and she heard me. She heard me say, you matter more than expectations. And now that my husband and I live far away in Mexico, our holidays are pretty simple. Sometimes we join friends, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we cook, sometimes we don't. There's no performance, there's no scripts, there's no guilt. It's just presence and truth. And because of that, my body has softened in ways that I didn't know were possible. Love without expectation feels like freedom. And once I let go of Christmas, the other holidays quickly followed. Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day, all of them. I realized that I didn't want to participate in rituals rooted in obligation, guilt, especially consumerism or performance. Because this is where our earliest programming was installed. The holidays taught us to be good, to make everyone else happy, to smile and perform, to override our own needs and feelings, to blend in, to shrink, to keep the peace, to follow the herd. So even if we don't want to participate, we often do it out of guilt. We spend money when we don't have it. We travel when it's stressful. We abandon ourselves to make others comfortable. And that is out of the fawn response. Fight says attack, flight says run, freeze says hide, and fawn says people please. If I keep everyone happy, then I'll be safe. And that's not personality, that's survival. But fair warning, when you start to set boundaries, the little thing called guilt shows up typically. And not just from you, but from your ego, from your family, from the people who benefited consciously or unconsciously from you having no boundaries at all. But hear this clearly. Guilt isn't proof that you're wrong. It's proof that you're doing something new. Your nervous system is recalibrating to a new role, one where you choose authenticity instead of obligation. So when guilt comes up, place a hand on your heart or gently rub your shoulder like I do and talk to your inner child and say, it's okay to disappoint others to stay true to ourselves. We're not responsible for how they feel, and we're not hurting them. We're healing ourselves. And relationships that are built on love, they will adjust. They will adapt. Relationships built on compliance, they may resist. But even that resistance is sacred information, because what you lose by becoming true to your authentic self is not a loss. It's alignment. Say that again. In fact, write that one down. What you lose by becoming more true to your authentic self is not a loss. It's alignment. So as you move through this holiday season and into the next set of holidays, remember, boundaries or guardrails, they aren't barriers. They're bridges. They bring you back home to yourself so you can connect with others from a place that's real. So before you say yes this season, ask yourself, am I agreeing from love or from fear? If it's love, step in. If it's fear, step back. You're reparenting the people pleaser. You're rewriting the patterns. You're rewiring neural pathways. You're reclaiming your freedom. So stop saying yes out of obligation. Create your own rituals. Create a way of being that works for you and your nervous system, without guilt, without shame, and without people-pleasing. You paint the canvas of your life. What will you choose to paint this holiday season? Maybe you'll choose no gifts. Maybe you'll choose no decorations. Maybe you'll choose just to be with immediate family. Or maybe you'll choose to travel instead, or celebrate on a different day when travel isn't so hectic or expensive. Maybe you'll choose to skip the traditional meal entirely and cook something that actually feels like you. Whatever it is, choose you. Because tradition should feel like connection, not obligation. And when you choose yourself, the inner child finally gets to exhale and say, we matter too. Here's a little mantra to support you when your ego tries to drag you back into old programming after you've set a boundary. You can say, my boundaries are bridges, not walls. And just keep repeating it. My boundaries are bridges, not walls. When your nervous system is feeling a little off, the guilt is coming in, just keep repeating it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Your healing, it's not just for you. It's for everyone that comes after you. This is generational work. When one person sets themselves free, a whole lineage breathes easier. Thank you for being here with me. I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining this episode of ReParenting Radio. If it sparks something in you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow cycle breaker. If you want to go deeper, visit my website at reparent-yourself.com for healing tools and programs, and be sure to explore my soul-nourishing children's books at awakentheone.org. Until next time, stay sovereign, speak your truth, and keep reparenting your way home to yourself.